The BLAZAR Apex 35 and 50mm anamorphic autofocus lenses are almost here. I took them for a short spin and I would love to share my findings. Hi guys, I'm Johnny from CineD, and today on my table I have two new lenses. And those are not just lenses, those are the first anamorphic autofocus lenses from BLAZAR. The name of the new series is Apex. They will come in 35 and 50mm. The 35, by the way, I'm filming right now with the Sony A9. That's the only camera that I have in-house currently. All the others are out. And this is the 50mm. Both of them will cover Super 35 and the squeeze ratio is 1.33. Before diving into watching some footage or even talk about specifications, why anamorphic autofocus lenses even big news? Well, for me personally, as a documentary filmmaker, I run a lot by myself or with a small crew, so autofocus anamorphic lenses is a really great help. I think this is also very important for photographers, because up until now, I don't think that many photographers really used anamorphic lenses for their work. But now when those lenses can act as autofocus anamorphic lenses, I think it helps a lot. Also, it might fit their workflow. And I think they can really achieve a different aesthetic. So I can predict that many photographers will also at least try, those new lenses. So I was lucky enough to run and test those lenses, but I have to come up front and say that those are pre-production lenses. And that means that optically wise and also mechanically wise, this is not the final version. So I think that things can only get a little bit better, but it was very nice to already test them and see how they look, like aesthetic wise, and also to see how the autofocus performance on those lenses. Okay, I want to share with you some footage that I took in the Austrian Alps. Sony Switzerland and Sony Austria were running an event by the name Kendo for the photographers and the ambassadors that are working with them quite frequently. And that was more like a workshop. As media, we were invited to visit the event. It fitted perfectly because I could choose a camera, any Sony camera that I want, and run with those lenses, because what I have here is E-mount. What can I say? I never saw so many Sony cameras and lenses on the table for people to try. So what I did, I picked up the Sony FX30. That fitted quite well with the BLAZAR Apex 35 and 50mm lenses. So let's see some footage, and I'm very curious to hear or see what you guys think in terms of how is the look. Because the company says that they really worked hard in order to give it a feel of a greater squeeze. I mean, again, it's 133. They were aiming to give it a look of 1.5, so please leave a comment. But for now, let's watch the footage. Personally, when I saw the footage for the first time, I was like, you know what? This is great. I mean, those lenses are so small. Those are what, 800 grams? It's nothing, yeah? And put it on such a small camera. If we don't like it, I think we are getting really spoiled. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about the lenses. So, first of all, the autofocus performance, no? Because this is the big thing here. The company BLAZAR was a little bit hesitating to give me the lens because they claimed that the autofocus performance is not perfect. But you know what? Everything that you see here now, the A9 with the 35mm lens, I mean, nothing is breathing in the background. The autofocus performance is really stable, and that's how I felt also in the field. I think from 100% shooting, I felt like, what, 95% of the time, I was really safe, yeah? It really did what I wanted to be. The autofocus point was where I wanted to be. The other thing is I did also a small experiment during nighttime, and I put the focus point on the phone number that was almost complete darkness, all the way that I had to go with the ISO really high and actually went below shutter 50. That's why it looks the way it is. But the idea here was to see how the autofocus performs in low light, and I think it's quite impressive. The maximum aperture of both lenses is t1.8. Now, in terms of sharpness, don't expect the image to be sharp from edge to edge when working in such a wide open aperture. If you want better results, t2.8 or even t4 are much better options. Focus breathing is really kept to minimum. The minimum focus is 2.2 feet or 64 centimeters. For those of you who are curious about distortion, BLAZAR is always using burl distortion in their lenses and not pin cushion one. And this is how the bokeh looks like. Now, what is an anamorphic lens without flares? So, let me just show you quickly. That's how flares looks with this lens. What you can see, that those are very modest. You don't have this kind of big splash of flare, and personally, I really like it. Now, don't be fooled. What you saw is blue, yeah? But that's because this is kind of a daylight thing. So, the flares in this lens are natural or silver, and it's really depending on the light source that you're pointing at the lens in order to get the color or the specific color that you want. If there is anything that I would have done differently is positioning the autofocus switch to the front like with other autofocus lenses. How about pricing and availability? Well, the 50mm will cost $799. It will come first in E-mount, and hopefully during the beginning of next year, we will see other mounts too. And about availability, I can't tell much. Right now it's not so clear. When I will have more details, we will simply share it with you guys in the article and also in this video. I also don't have much details about the 35mm, when it will be available and what will be the price of this one. But if I look how BLAZAR is working in general, they always try to be really fair with the prices. Conclusion. For $799, I think you're getting a very nice aesthetic look-wise, and the build quality of those lenses looks quite solid. It can only get better in the final version. Put it together with an APS-C camera of your liking. Should be Sony E-mount for now, and I think you might have a perfect match. Don't forget, when you are filming with a 16:9 sensor and a 1.33 squeeze, this is a really perfect match. You don't throw any information from the sensor, you don't have to put black bars and so on. And Yeah, you tell me if that looks like 133 or 1.5 or whatever, but one thing is for sure, it just looks very nice, very appealing, and top this with autofocus performance, and I think we have a winner here. BLAZAR, well done. Thank you guys for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.